and this is the start of the Winter Soldier build. For those that don't know who the Winter Soldier is, here's a quick picture of him. Yes, he is Captain America's enemy slash friend, depending on how far along you are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline. And as you can see, it's going to be a fairly simple costume to make. Now, I'm not going to go for 100% screen accurate because there's no need, I think. Same with the Joker. With the Joker, all I did was make sure he had green hair, white face, red smile, and wore purple, and looks like the Joker. So in this case, with the Winter Soldier, I'm going to make sure he's got black tactical gear. So tactical shirt, trousers, maybe a vest. Belt, holsters, black boots, that sort of thing. And then as long as I give him his left bionic arm with the red star on the shoulder and his mask and long hair, that will look pretty much like the Winter Soldier. So that'll be all I need to do. So it's going to be fairly simple. As I just said, I've just got to make a left arm and a mask. The rest of it is just things I'm going to buy on eBay or maybe from an airsoft or paintball supply store. So let's get started with the left arm. Right, time to get started on the Winter Soldier's left bionic arm. Now there's a couple of ways I could go about this. One would be to look through the internet and try and find a Peppercura template, which I've done and I found, and they're all rubbish. Plus, I don't know how well it would fit until I've made them, and it's quite a complex model, and I don't really want to waste a lot of time and materials doing that and then only to find it's the wrong size, either too big or too small, because it's got to be pretty much skin tight to my arm. So I think the best way to do it is to make my own templates, and I'm going to need a mould of my own arm, and I'm going to make that using tin foil and some tape, and in this case I'm using just electrical tape because I've got tons of electrical tape laying around, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that now. Right, so all we need to do is get some tape ready. So I've got the end of this tape here, cut a few pieces off. On my table there, and I need a couple of bits of this foil about the length of my forearm. So this piece is going to go on there, and then this piece is going to go around here. I've got my tape. I'm using foil because you can squish it together, and as it's so thin it doesn't really get too fat, so it should keep the shape of my arm pretty well. So I'm just going to do that with the tape. It's roughly the size of my arm. And now what I'm going to do is take off more tape and cover my whole arm, my forearm to start with, until it's all black and not silver. So I'm going to sit here doing that, and then I'll be back. Right, so that's the forearm done, and I think I might continue actually and do the whole thing in one piece, and then I can choose where to cut it to have it so I can articulate the top and bottom half. So yeah, I'm going to carry on. It's getting a bit more tricky now though, because I can't bend my arm anymore. It's like I've got my arm in a cast. So yeah, I'm going to need to get a mirror, I think, because I can't see the back of my arm very well. I don't even think I've done the whole back of the forearm here. I have cut it open to see how easy I can slip it off. So I think I'm going to also have to slit it up here as well to get my hand through this bit because your arm's thinner here. But yeah, I'm going to continue adding foil and tape until I've got a black arm basically. Note to self, don't seal up the elbow joint until after you've done this piece and this piece, because I can't bend my arm, and it's making doing the most simple things like cutting tape and sticking it to the table very tricky. So yeah, if I was to do this again, I'd do the forearm, then the upper arm, and then the elbow joint last. Not gonna lie, this is actually really difficult. The problem I've got is I need to move this arm to be able to reach certain parts, and as you move your arm, your shoulder moves and changes shape, because obviously it's your shoulder muscles that are responsible for moving your arm. So this is very, very difficult. This would be a lot easier if I had someone putting the tape on and I could just stand there drinking a cup of coffee with my good arm. But as I'm clearly no mates today, I'm just going to have to persist, do this as best I can, and then most likely once I've cut this off, I have to do a bit of reshaping on the shoulder to get it to the type of shape that I want. So I reckon about another 20 minutes or so of sticking bits of tape to this and it'll be done, and then we'll see what we've got. Ta-da! Right, now let's get this bad boy off. I'd already taken the forearm off to make sure it was working. Let's just cut those bits of tape. I'm worried about this bit here. Will my hand fit through there? If it does, then this should come off. Come on, do it! Ah! Oops, I meant to do that. Yes! Woohoo! That's pretty good, and that's pretty arm shaped. It's still got the shoulder definition up there, which is really good. It's got the tricep definition there, which is really good. Only thing I don't know whether or not it's going to work with is obviously when you bend your arm, your bicep gets bigger, and I don't think that that's going to allow for that. So I might have to cut this and add an extension piece in there to make it fit for when I bend my arm. So I'm now going to neaten a couple of these bits up, trim this edge, fix the bit I just tore. That's where I added a bit extra, so it weren't quite long enough on the bottom there. I didn't quite see it properly. And then I'm going to separate the two pieces. Not quite sure where to do that yet. But I'm going to have to cut a piece out here and cut it at the back. So it's a two-piece arm. Right, so I separated the upper and lower arms, and I also cut the forearm right down the middle to lay it out flat. Only it wouldn't lay out flat because it had these curves in it, so I've had to put these slits into it. I then drew around this on some really thin foam. This is a yoga mat apparently, and it's already grey. Wouldn't want to use anything but a grey or a black, because when the paint, and not if, but when the paint chips off, you'll see the foam underneath. So if this was bright red or pink or yellow or something, it'd look a bit crappy as the paint starts to wear. And then I end up with this. So those slits that I cut in it have been glued shut, and then the whole thing sticks together with a piece of Velcro. So I've now got to do the same to this. So what I'm going to do to begin with, I'm going to take my scissors and cut a seam up the inside of the arm, so it'll be hidden, and then start trying to lay this out flat. So as I'm trying to lay this out flat, it's not going to go because of this curve, so you've got to cut into that. Like that. And again along where the shoulder is, so I follow that line there into the shoulder. You can see that's starting to lay flat now, so I'm going to continue doing that until it's completely flat, and then I'll be able to lay it out onto another piece of foam. Right, so I've put enough cuts in this to lay it out completely flat, and I've got a big piece of foam here, so I'm going to lay this down on top. This foam's so thin that I can't use pins to hold this in place. So I'm just going to have to hold it down as best I can and draw around it while I'm holding it. So I'm just going to score into the foam with my knife. So that's that drawn out. So I'm going to get the scissors, cut that out. Right, so after cutting this out in foam, I stuck all the seams together, added a 1-inch extension on the inside just to make it a little more comfortable, and here it is. It looks pretty cool. It's not a lot wider than my actual arm, so it doesn't look out of place next to my other arm. Only thing is, it's lost a little bit of the definition as I haven't bent the foam into shape yet, so I'm going to do that now with a little bit of help from my heat gun. So let's try and give this shoulder a bit more definition, a little bit more rounded, because it's a little bit boxy on the top. So I'm going to take my heat gun and warm that up from the inside. Right, only bit left to add in is there's no separation between the shoulder and the arm. Ideally, it will have a distinctive line there. Not sure how well I'm going to get that, just by heating it. We'll see. So here it is, all shaped, and the way I did that was heat the inside, and then I'd have one hand inside the piece doing this, and the other hand on the outside of the piece doing this. So I'm pushing this foam in between my fingers to give it that shape, but it won't stay like that, so I've had to reinforce the inside. And the way I've done that is I've used some fabric. This is an old bed sheet and it isn't stretchy. If it was stretchy it wouldn't work, and I've just hot glued that to the inside. So now let's test if that fits, and I'm wearing the shirt that I'll be wearing with the costume to make sure it fits before I do all the detail work. Put this one here. Yeah, not too bad. Got good range of movement in there. The only thing I'm going to have to do to this shirt is do something to this area here, because all of this is going to be like a silvery chrome colour, and this is obviously black, so I need to make that a similar colour to what these are going to be, and I'm probably going to do that with some sort of fabric paint, or I might get some stretchy spandexy stuff and just cut like a tube of it off and then pull it up like an elbow pad kind of thing, but underneath these. But I'm not going to do that until I've painted these so I know exactly what colour this needs to be. So yeah, that's the shape now of this arm done. So on to the next step, which is the detailing work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some templates. I'm going to cut out strips of the same foam this is made of and lay them over to give it that look it needs. So let's get making some templates. This is actually a lot more difficult than I first thought it'd be. Let me show you what I'm talking about. As you can see from this close-up of the arm, it's split into lots of different pieces, and I thought they were just like bands that go around the arm, but they're not. They kind of go horizontal, then up at a diagonal angle, then horizontal again. Some of them have little notches come out, like cut out of them, and yeah, it's a bit more complicated than I first thought it was. I didn't really take a proper close look at the detail work on the arm before I started this. So now I'm trying to figure out the best way of doing it. I come out with a couple of ideas. One was to take a big piece of foam like this and then kind of make another one of these that's slightly bigger. Wrap that around there, get it as close as I can, then lay it out flat, draw all of those detail bits on, cut them out and stick them on, but that might not work. I might not get it right, so I'm not going to go for that idea. Another one was to use some paper, draw them out as best I can on paper and then hope that they fit, but again I'm not guaranteed to get that because I don't want any of the seam lines in, and paper doesn't bend. I'd need to put those seams in to get that foam to bend before I could put it on there to draw them out. That's not going to work. So I've had an idea. I think I've sussed it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my pencil, I'm going to draw all of the lines on this, and once I'm happy with all the line placement on this, I'm pretty certain that it's going to give me the look I want. I'm then going to take my tape, cut off little strips, and one at a time I'm going to mark off the little panels. Once, say, this bottom one here is marked off, I'll then carefully in one piece peel all that tape off, lay that tape down on another piece of foam, cut around it, take the tape, chuck it away, I've got my piece. I'll then glue that immediately onto there, and then that's one done. Move on to the next one and so on until I've got the whole arm done. I think that's going to work. So I'm going to first of all mark out all of the lines with my pencil. And here it is, all of the lines are now marked out. It took a little while, but it's worth it because now that's the hard part done. Onto the easy but tedious bit of transferring these onto another piece of foam so I can stick the individual panels on, each of them with a little gap in between. And the way I'm going to do that is take my electrical tape cut off lots of little strips. Stick them on the table so they're ready to stick to my arm. Right, so the first bit I'm going to do is going to be this little bit here, not quite the bottom piece, but the bit just above that goes all the way around here. So that'll be like this sort of area. So I'm going to take my bit of electrical tape and just follow that line, leaving the black line exposed because that's going to be the gap between the piece above it and the piece I'm doing now. So I'm just going to put my bit of tape on there. And then another bit, being sure to overlap them so these will all stick together as one big piece. And I'm going to make sure that I only go one way around. If I start here and then go here and they join in the middle, they won't all overlap the same way. Whereas if they all overlap this way and I peel back this, as I lift up this piece, it'll pull the next piece up and so on and so on. Whereas if one was going the other way, there'd be like a join and I'll just end up tearing this piece off of the bit underneath. So I'm just going to go the one way, do a few bits, and then do the bottom bit the same. Make sure I can still see that pen line. And that's the last bit of tape on. So that goes all the way around. And I'm now going to peel it off. And I'm going to peel it off going the same way round as I did to apply it, so it all peels up in one piece. I'm just going to take that in. And then I'm not going to pull it too hard because I don't want to stretch the tape. There we go. This is our template. I'm going to take this big piece of foam, lay that down. So that's that piece done. Just peel that tape off. Now this mat has got a weird plasticky side to it and glue doesn't stick to it very well, so I'm going to take this rasp file, which is pretty much a cheese grater on a handle, and just rough that up a bit just to give the glue something to cling on to. Just put a bit of glue on an inch or two back side of this, line it up on your piece. I've deliberately made sure that the seam for these pieces is going to be on the inside of the arm, so it's going to be less visible. So this last piece of glue. You're probably wondering why I'm rubbing this. It's because I've got a bit of glue where I don't want it, and if you give it a rub, rubbing makes friction, friction makes heat, the heat melts the glue, and you eventually rub it away. That for a top tip. And there you go, there's one done. I've now got to do about 15 to 20 more of those, but I'm going to go up to about halfway and then show you what it's looking like to give you an idea of what the finished piece is going to look like. For me it's going to be about 2 hours, for you it's going to be instant. In fact, I'm going to snap my fingers and as if by magic this is going to change. Magic. And there it is, up to the shoulder done. Just got to do the same thing for this piece here, and I am fast running out of foam. I'm hoping this is going to be enough. It should be. So I'm going to do that for another hour or so, and then that'll be ready for paint. All finished. All the details are now on the forearm and the upper arm. Took bloody ages, but was well worth it. I think you'll agree. It looks really good. Only thing left to do on this arm now is to paint it. I'm yet to buy the paint because I'm not quite sure what I want to use. I want to do a couple of tests on some scrap pieces first because I want to get it as shiny as possible. In the film it's a chrome sort of colour. I don't think I'm going to quite get chrome, but as shiny as I can get it is what I'm going to go for. And I'm also going to add some sort of strap up here because sometimes you move your arm forwards a bit, it comes away at the back there. So I think a strap here and here that goes across my chest underneath my jacket will stop that from happening. And obviously I've got to make the mask, but I'm not going to do any of that or any of the mask in this video. I'm going to save that for the next video, so make sure you watch that in a few days. Bye bye.